NGN's presentation of the Chesapeake Invite brought to you by Elemental Technologies, perfecting the media experience with multi-screen delivery solutions for the modern world. And Patagonia, team sales and discounts for athletes seeking exceptional quality and peak performance.
Welcome back to Next Gen's continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. We are here live in Leesburg, Virginia, with coverage of the men's final at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Fight Challenge. We've got a matchup between Chain Lightning and Machine. Chain Lightning pulling to Machine to start the game. We have Bob Liu centering the disc to Tom Annan. Back to Liu. Annan. Machine working against a Chain defense that's throwing some lane poaches. Liu with a great crossfield hammer to Andrew Nelson, who tosses it deep to Dave Wiseman. And that is an easy hold for Machine. A nice first point for that offensive unit. As we get another look at Bob Liu's crossfield hammer, he kind of deceives some of the Chain defenders by staring at a different location before he uncorks that crossfield throw.
So necessary to look off the defenders. Using your eyes in the zone defense is one of the more, I'd say it's one of the secrets of the great throwers. Just be able to move the defense with your eyes, with your fakes. You'll be able to dictate where you want to open it up.
So looking at Machine, we have a couple players to watch. You saw one of them there, Bob Liu, number 11. He hails from Las Positas College. He's a very agile handler with a lot of great throws, as you saw there. He will be heavily involved in their offense. He used to play for the Polar Bears, the successful mixed club team. The other Chicago Machine player to watch is Goose Helton. A very large and powerful force in the air. So Machine and Chain actually met earlier in this tournament in pool play. Chain went on to win convincingly 13-7. We got to speak with Machine coach Ron Kubalanza before the game, and he indicated that there was a significant amount of offensive miscommunication and a lack of intensity in that game. Kubalanza said that the defense didn't really get dialed in until late in the first half, not having many chances at blocks. Machines had to deal with a few injuries coming into this game, so they'll be mixing up their lines and throwing some different looks at Chain this time around, and hopefully executing a little better than they did in pool play. So Machine getting set to pull with a 1-0 lead here in the finals of the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have two pro flight teams who've made it to the final here, Machine and Chain Lightning. Here's Jared Inselman, longtime ring veteran with the disc. Back to Tyler Conger. Conger, a University of Virginia product. Hollingworth now. He's from Tufts. Over to Nicky Spiva. Around to Hollingworth, who makes a great catch despite pressure from the Machine defender, and the throw goes up. A little miscommunication. Joel Wooten wasn't sure that it was coming in. Van der Voort was in the area to apply pressure. Excuse me, Van der Voort. And Machine is going to have the disc with a chance at a break. Dan Williams going back to pick up the disc. Big storyline for Machine coming into this season. A handful of Madison Club players have joined the Machine roster. Dave Wiseman and Pat Schreiwise among them. Andrew Sheehan with the disc now. Resets to Williams, back to Sheehan. Sheehan, a great dump defender who had 2 blocks in the semifinals against Pony. Sheehan gets the disc back. Inside to Walden Nelson. Back to Sheehan. Up to Vandervoort, and Vandervoort uncorks a backhand. Spiva's chasing, but Kevin Kelly is all alone. And Machine converts the first break of the game to go up 2-0. Brian, some great patience and movement after the turn from Machine's D-line offense there.
Absolutely, Ian. Machine has some patient throwers. They're facing a slight bit of an upwind here. As you see, Vandervoort puts it right on the money here, only where his receiver can get it. This is a position that Chain hasn't really been in for a while. They've been leading most of their games today pretty comfortably. Let's see what kind of resilience they have here.
As we look at Chain, we have to consider the top players who are going to influence this game. You have to start with Jared Inselman. He's a longtime staple of the men's club division, played for Ring of Fire and now plays for Chain Lightning. An aggressive thrower who uses his size to his advantage in both the cutting lanes and in the backfield. And you also have to talk about Christian Olsen, number 24. He's been seen almost exclusively on the D-line this weekend, getting a number of important breaks. And he had 2 great scores in the semifinal against Ring of Fire.
He's such a quick defender there for Chain. They have such a consistent offense that it's just one little catalyst like that on the defense can win a game for you if you can get a break off it.
So Dave Wiseman, one of those Madison Club products who went to school at Wisconsin, pulls for Machine. Inselman to Hollingworth, who boosts to Jay Clark. Charles Hubbard giving chase, but Jay Clark is going to get that disc uncontested. A great deep shot from Andrew Hollingworth. You saw that set up by a number of shoulder fakes by Jared Inselman. Nice conversion, classic deep conversion from the Chain offense.
Yep, we're seeing Chain get back to what it does best here, throwing that long ball. When you have receivers like Jay Clark, you know he's going to be able to body his man. And even if you put it far away, as we saw in one of our earlier Patagonia play of the games, Jay Clark can go up and get it just about anywhere you can put it.
So Chain answers after getting broken with its first hold of the game. They're down a break, 2-1 to Machine here in the finals of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite, live in Leesburg, Virginia. This is our 7th game of the weekend. We will have the women's final for you at the conclusion of this men's final. So we get a look there at Michael Spear getting set to pull for Chain Lightning. Also on the line, we see Brian Moore, a rookie from Alabama. Elliot Erickson, who had 2 tremendous Ds in the semifinal against Ring of Fire. Joel Wooten, who's going to be playing with Boneyard in the Masters World Ultimate Club Championships later this summer. Trenton Spinks and Russell Snow. Disc is centered to Bob Liu. Liu finds Greg Slover. Slover. He resets to Tom Annan. Annan. Bob Liu with a sneaky upline cut. And he's going to uncork a backhand. Looking for Taylor Kramer. And Kramer's alone. That point brought to you by Bob Liu. Sneaking up line past his defender and uncorking a large backhand hook. Machine's got a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, Liu's so powerful. He can really generate a lot of rotational power with that small frame. You wouldn't expect a giant throw to come out of that. Here he is. Just puts it right on the money. Excellent.
So looking ahead, we're going to examine the elemental keys to the game. Chain needs to build an early lead like they have in many of the other games we've covered so far. And they need to continue to push the pace with the deep ball on their offense. Brian, what are the keys for Machine?
On the other hand, for Machine here, they need to get number 17 going. Get Helton going. He's one of the the centers of their team. Jonathan Helton, number 0. Also, they need to maintain their possession. Chain's going to look to capitalize on anything they can give him. If they can keep the disc clean, keep those throws going downfield, then they should find their way to a potential victory here at the Invite.
So Machine leading 3-1. A reminder that these teams have already met in this tournament. Chain won 13-7 in pool play, but Machine hoping to produce a different outcome. Tyler Conger's going to field the pull and send her to Alan Laviolette. Jared Inselman gets the first under. We feel the wind picking up here. Chain might be working slightly upwind. Asa Wilson catches an under. And he's going to shoot deep for Nikki Spiva. But there are 2 Machine defenders in the area. Kevin Kelly and Vandervoort both converge. They saw the throw go up earlier than Spiva did. Vandervoort with his second big backhand of the game. Wilson trying to adjust, and he maintains good position. And that'll be a Machine turnover. Chain's offense will get another chance to work. Inselman to pick up. A nice break to Laviolette. Great grab by Nick Spiva. Resetting to Jay Clark. Clark pumps the deep shot. Inselman well covered, but he gets the under.
Chain's offense is looking a little confused here. Looks like they have a lot of handlers in a cutting position, a lot of cutters in a handling position. Sort of throws off that delicate balance flow that they've had such success with earlier on this tournament.
Dan Williams is going to take an injury. Looks like he got a poke in the eye or something like that while guarding Jared Inselman. Exton Titcomb, who played with Seattle Sockeye in previous years, is coming on for him. And that's the second D of the point for Kevin Kelly. Titcomb with the disc now. Chain scrambling to transition and find its assignments. Stefan Mance finds Titcomb. Titcomb to Mance. Mance to Sheehan. Round to Vandervoort. Vandervoort, a big thrower, working in small space here with a high release backhand. He finds Jack Shea in the front corner of the end zone. Not sure the Chain defender was expecting that high release throw from him. And Machine gets another break to go up 4-1.
This is not what we expected to see, and one of Chain's keys to the game was to get up early. They'd done such a good job of that earlier on in the tournament, just playing really consistent. But Chicago's coming out with a lot of fire here.
So Chain Lightning finding itself in one of the biggest holes we've seen so far in our coverage. Down 4-1 to Chicago Machine. Thanks in large part to Kevin Kelly and Bob Liu so far.
Certainly not insurmountable, but it's definitely a theme that's been going on this weekend, is that these early breaks can really get on a team's back and drag them down for the rest of the game. Even if you play well and play even, you have to dig yourself out of this hole. As we see the clouds roll over here, what's been a very hot day has kind of turned into a little bit of a cooler matchup here. We've seen a lot of discs get dropped or misthrown because of sweaty hands. A lot of these high-level open players will wear gloves to assist with catching and throwing, but it's sort of an acquired taste, as most people don't learn the game with gloves on. As we can see here on the field, we can see a couple pairs, but most elect to not use them. These clouds clear out and this wind dies down, expect the heat to become a big force in the game, not only with those sweaty hands, but also with fatigue. As we see a Huck go up here, it's going to be Wooten. He can track it down awkwardly, but gets the job done.
Michael Spear finds Joel Wooten deep. Dave Wiseman doing a good job to give chase. Wooten, despite the awkward fall, maintains possession for his team. And that's a 2-throw score for Chain Lightning.
Yeah, there you see Wooten get up with a smile on his face and a little sheepish shrug. He knows it wasn't pretty, but he'll take it.
So 4-2, Chicago Machine leads. Chain has been battling through some injuries over the course of the weekend. Byron Liu dealing with a shoulder injury. He separated it twice yesterday in consecutive games. We see Dave Berendez on the sideline not playing as well.
Yeah, potential knee injury for Berendez after just recovering from a knee injury. That's so disheartening. You hate to see that. I've seen Inselman pull up a couple times, maybe a lower body muscular injury. We heard that Spiva's not at 100%, a little banged up from potlatch. As the pull goes up here.
Machine, one of their Madison Club pickups, Pat Schreiwise, scraped his knee on a rock making a catch yesterday, had to get stitches, and that's keeping him out of play today. Also have Cullen Geppert and another player missing this game with shoulder injuries, but Goose Helton is gonna shoot deep for Andrew Nelson. And that is a beautiful hold for the Machine offense. Nice movement from the downfield cutters and a great deep shot for the Machine offense.
Absolutely no problem here from Goose. He's puts this on a platter. There's really no defense in the area.
Hopefully that's what Machine needs to get Goose going in the first half of this game. They're leading 5-2. A reminder that this tournament's games, are played to 13, so half will come at 7.
That's all too early for Atlanta's Chain Lightning. If they can put in a break, maybe 2 breaks before half, that'll give them a good shot. But with the way momentum's been working here this weekend, if Chicago Machine takes half by 3 or more points, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for Chain to mount a comeback.
Chris Vandervoort, who already has 2 assists this game, getting set to pull for Machine. Another one of the large army of defenders on this Machine roster.
We hear the sideline yell for them to be onside. Of course, they've already been offsides once this game. A repeat offense could be very detrimental to their field position. The other team would be able to take it at half field.
Tyler Conger with the disc. Over to Jared Inselman.
Chicago Machine showing up in a junky zone type defense here. The wind is not too much of a factor. They might just be trying to create a little chaos and throw Atlanta Chain Lightning off of what they like to do best.
Chain perfectly content to throw a few swings back and forth, work the disc up the field. That is until Jay Clark wants to throw a scuba and Asa Wilson wants to break the mark. So Austin Taylor in the back corner of the end zone. A nice patient hold for the Chain offense. They trail Machine 5-3. So we get another look. Clark Scuber was able to get a little bit of momentum going, and Asa Wilson loves catching that disc on his flick sideline and continuing to the end zone. We saw a little bit of that in the semifinal against Ring. I'm sure there was more of it in other games this weekend, and Austin Taylor is there for the grab.
Chain trying to pump things up on their sideline. Teams relying heavily on their men that aren't on the field to give energy to the men that are. It's all about that momentum here.
We get a look at Chain's D-line, preparing to pull. We see Joel Wooten, Christian Olsen, who's had a great defensive presence. Michael Spear, who's loved to pull the trigger on the deep ball. Trenton Spinks, Frank Wooten, Elliot Erickson, and Brian Moore. And here's the chain pull. Annan up to Bob Liu. Liu and Elliot Erickson, a great matchup, two very agile players. Wiseman, Liu, Nelson, Helton, Liu. And Liu finds Greg Slover alone in the end zone, but Frank Wooten was down. I'm not sure if there was an injury pick or foul call.
We see Wooten somewhat limping off the field. He waves off a sub. He may be convinced otherwise.
If there wasn't contact, then he called that injury, then he does have to come off. Liu with a nice scuba reset to Wiseman. Wiseman underneath to Goose Helton. Christian Olsen taking some of the tougher matchups. And Goose Helton shoots the end zone.
Certainly nothing Olsen can do there on that four-side throw. Really squeezing a tight window. It looks like Helton's getting going. That's something that's going to genuinely benefit this machine offense.
So, after that grab by Andrew Nelson, Machine takes a 6-3 lead. We'll have a timeout, and we will be back after these words from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. I'm Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan, and we're bringing you live coverage of the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have men's championship action between Chicago Machine and Atlanta's Chain Lightning. Chicago Machine has showed its size and superiority thus far, jumping out to a 6-3 lead. They're trying to rewrite the script after losing to Chain 13-7 in pool play. Brian, who stood out to you on Machine so far?
That's right, Ian. So far, Machine doing a really good job. Right now, we're looking at Liu. He's really just gotten the disc at will. Such a strong, quick, powerful handler cutter, able to send those deep hucks without much contention. Here we see the pull come up for Machine, and it will find its way out of bounds. Tyler Conger to pick up at the brick mark for Chain Lightning. We've seen this handler duo for Chain quite a bit. Tyler Conger and Jared Inselman. Two pretty crafty dynamic throwers, different styles. Tyler, a more compact thrower. Inselman very long and lanky. Both totally capable.
Austin Taylor gets the first under and resets to Inselman. Around to Conger. Conger being marked by Andrew Sheehan. Hollingworth. Back to Conger. Here, great communication with the Chain offense. Jared Inselman yelling that he's out. And Christian Olsen able to continue up the break side to Inselman, who was clearing, but then became a viable option.
Yep. Always good to keep your head on a swivel there. Inselman, a veteran, knows that just when your defender thinks that you're clearing and no longer an option, it's almost always a great time for you to take advantage of that. There he finds himself quite a few yards upfield. Hops into the end zone there. Great presence of mind to get those feet in. That's an easy throw for Olsen. Open side backhand. Inselman will pop it in. Really cooling off here at the field. We've seen the cloud cover and now a slight persistent breeze. Not as strong as the swirling we've been seeing, so hopefully we can keep the level of play high here and not have it turn into one of those upwind downwind games. Always such a shame if when the finals turn into a win game. So far, though, neither team had any trouble throwing. As we see Chain Lightning here, Nikki Spiva with the disc, set to pull. You gotta think Chains must be looking to pull some tricks out of the bags here, as they do not want the score to be this lopsided at half. If they can catch up even one more point, that's much easier in striking distance. As we see the pull come up. Machine will field at its own goal line.
Andrew Nelson. Resets are well pressured. Taylor Kramer. Bob Lou gets another up line. Bob Lou looking inside. Finds Brett Kolonik. Slover. Resets to Annan. Kolonik. Fakes the hammer. Bob Lou streaking to the open side, thinking he was poached, but good help from Jared Inselman to take that away. Tom Annan with the disc now. And he's going to throw a high release backhand over his mark to Andrew Nelson. And Machine is going to take half 7-4. Nice lateral movement from the Machine offense, and that's twice we've seen Machine strike in the red zone with a high release backhand, Brian.
Spirits are high on the Machine sideline. They use those fast handlers and quick break throws really to their advantage there. Such a tall target here in Nelson. Chain likes to use a lot of defensive switching, which will often lead to a whole bunch of sort of tall, short, fast, slow mismatches. It's great when it works. Unfortunately for them, it didn't that time.
So Machine leads Chain Lightning here in the final of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We will be back in 10 minutes with coverage of the second half. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. I'm Ian Toner, joined by Brian Kiernan, and we have live coverage of the Chesapeake Invite Men's Final. Two pro flight teams matching up here. Machine leads Chain Lightning 7-4. Chain will be receiving. Earlier this weekend, Chain Lightning beat Machine 13-7 in pool play. But Brian, the story of the first half has been Machine's size and defense.
Absolutely. Machine bringing defensive pressure, not only on the handlers, also on the cutters. They've been playing mostly just some hard-nosed man defense. It's not really any smoke screen, no tricks. It's just being big and athletic. That's also translated to their offense, where they've been able to put up some high throws, some high, lofty around backhands, and just come down with them open in space.
So Andrew Hollingworth will bring the disc in for the Chain offense. Chain's been comfortable using a number of different throwers to initiate their offense. And here we see Asa Wilson deep, and he did a great job bodying out Vandervoort. Thought he was going to get it on the back edge, but I believe that was Kevin Kelly with his third D of the game, following the play and swatting it before Asa Wilson could reel it in. Expert read by Wilson, but great help defense from Kevin Kelly.
This is the second or third time we've seen a combination deep defense from Kelly and Nelson. Excuse me, Vandervoort. So many large bodies here on this Machine roster.
Vandervoort has already pulled the trigger once. Doesn't throw that one deep. Walden Nelson with the disc now. Nelson. Back to Williams. Williams shoots under, through traffic, completes that one to Charles Hubbard. Vandervoort. Williams. Conger cuts off the around to Nelson. Sheehan gets it around to Stefan Mance. Vandervoort all alone. Lots of switching here from Chain. And Vandervoort's going to call timeout. The first point out of half. Machine will have a chance to convert this break and go up 8-4. And we'll be back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back. This is Next Gen's live coverage of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. Two pro flight teams facing off in the finals, Machine and Chain Lightning. Machine has a chance to break out of halftime here. They've just called a timeout. Stefan Mance will swing to Andrew Sheehan. Around to Walden Nelson. Back to Sheehan. Williams. Sheehan. Williams. Hubbard. And Nelson catches that disc despite a great bid from Jared Inselman. Vandervoort fakes. Back to Nelson. Conger misses the layout block. Williams. And this late shot is going to go up to Stefan Mance. A few miscommunications after Walden Nelson took off. He was the one who caused the chaos in the chain defense. Tyler Conger had bid a few times, was on the ground. His man took off deep. Chain couldn't cover all the switches. And Stefan Mance was all alone in the back corner of the end zone. Not the easiest throw, a nice big flick blade out to space.
Yeah, great throw here from Walden Nelson, number 1 on Machine. Sort of a quiet hero here. Out of the University of Illinois, their Callahan nominee. Known from going from the handler set, he'll cut all to the end zone and back. A thrower-cutter combo, very difficult to guard. He'll run his defender all over the field. Great hands as we saw by that catch. Great throws as we saw by that put.
So Machine, their timeout out of halftime pays off, and they break right away to go up 8-4 on Chain Lightning. We see Dan Williams getting set to pull for Chicago Machine. Williams has been one of the main handlers on the turn, along with Andrew Sheehan.
Keeping a towel there. Handy as he wipes off his hands. No slippages on the pull. Could lead to disastrous results.
Michael Spear is going to field this pull. Probably could have gone out of bounds. Center to Brian Moore, rookie from Alabama. Up to Jared Inselman.
Chain running an isolation style offense.
Christian Olsen gets a nice under. Back to Inselman. Fakes the hammer. Push pass. Trenton Spinks. Inselman. Austin Taylor. Jared Inselman. Signature around backhand. Brian Moore lays out but can't quite get there. Exton Titcomb takes off. Machine's gonna slow the pace and set up. Williams to pick up. And this deep shot is gonna curve to the break side. And Dan Williams puts it where only Vaughn Alenguilin can get it.
Chain just looks completely disheartened here. Players on the field looking downcast. Such a backbreaker. That throw also sort of an unconventional throw we've seen a lot of here. Very hard for the defense to play that when it blades into the break side like that. Puts it right on his receiver, and you see a big smile on his face. He's excited about it.
So Machine coming out and executing significantly better than they did in their pool play matchup with Chain, where they lost 13-7. They have an impressive 9-4 lead.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough for Chain to try to come back from this. We're seeing they're going to talk it out on the line here, sort of use a quasi timeout. Try to get some air back in their sails, get that offense running like it was. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a called deep shot to one of their more reliable deep receivers. They're going downwind, certainly a possible throw. Let's see if Machine does anything to adjust.
Dave Wiseman, as we mentioned before, one of those Madison Club veterans who came over to Machine, a Wisconsin alum, will pull for Machine. Respectable upwind pull. Tyler Conger to Nicky Spiva. And Spiva's going to throw an outside in backhand downwind. Jay Clark reaches back for a just great grab. Kevin Kelly gave chase. I think that's the first time we've seen him beat deep this game. He's notched 3 deep Ds already. But Jay Clark knows how to handle himself in the deep space as well.
Yeah, Ian, that looked like a design play for Clark to come under. He takes a stutter step and goes out. Gets a lot of room here. Almost undercuts, as we've seen him underread a disc before. But just too long of a reach to let that one get past him. Reels it down as we see some little bit of action here from this offense.
So Chain responds with a hold after a rough start to the second half. They trail Machine 9-5. That was more of the traditional 2-throw Chain offense that we like to see. As we get a look at the Machine O-line, Bob Liu, who made his mark early in this game with some zone-breaking hammers and deep puts. Nicky Spiva, after throwing that assist, will pull for Chain.
That disc really carries well upwind. Bob Liu to receive. See if he stays active.
Annan.
Liu wanting a big backward stump. Not going to get it. Machine chooses to work it down the sideline instead.
Chain came with some good lane poaches, but after Jared Inselman pinched and couldn't quite get that block, he was out of position. And Machine was able to get a nice throw up the line, but a drop here from Dave Wiseman is going to give Chain another chance. And Bob Liu versus Elliot Erickson. Erickson with the better read. Keeps Bob Liu on his back hip. Liu went up probably at the only chance he could. And Elliot Erickson will call timeout. Chain trails 9-5 against Machine. We'll be back after this word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. This is the men's championship game between Chicago Machine and Chain Lightning. Elliot Erickson with the disc off of a timeout. Chain has a chance to break here. Looking for a reset, finds Nicky Spiva. Oh, Erickson was ready to go, but there was a stoppage.
You see Spiva line up sort of slightly behind the dump here. That allows the thrower both the force and the break lane without that dump defender really getting a chance to poach in.
Spiva around to Spear. Spear to Inselman. Inselman to Spiva. Olsen coming to the cone, and Spiva with a nice little touch around backhand just lets the wind take it the rest of the way after the flick of that wrist. And Chain showing signs of life with a break. They're down against Machine 9-6.
Spiva's been their control man all weekend, just sort of anchoring, being a rock for that line. He gets that disc right outside the goal line. Obviously not flustered. He'll use a quick no pivot backhand, catches the defender off guard, and lets the wind just carry that right to his receiver.
Christian Olsen Getting on the stat sheet in this game after an impressive weekend. A number of Ds against both Sub-Zero and Ring of Fire. Still a student at Emory University. We'll be excited to see what he can do in the upcoming college seasons. Machine's O-line will have to respond effectively to this break. They still hold a comfortable 9-6 lead. Jake Clark's getting set to pull for Chain Lightning. A big blading outside in backhand. It's going to land in the back of the end zone and roll out. Machine will take its time walking the disc up to the goal line. There's Tom N. He's going to work with Bob Liu to anchor this stack. And a great grab by Slover. Annan catches the disc, but there's a pick called. Annan with a big backhand. Hannah has a play on it, and he makes up the ground and gets the block on Nelson. Clark underneath. Chain Lightning really needs to value this disc, Brian. A really great opportunity to inch closer and earn some breaks back. And just as we say that, Austin Taylor's inside shot isn't quite on the money. Hannah laid out, but couldn't quite get there. Nelson giving good pressure. Bob Liu will pick up. Around to Kramer. Underneath to Goose. Goose Helton. Up line to Brett Kolonik. Another up line. But despite some contact and a foul call, the disc ends up in Tom Annan's hands, and Kolonik's there, but Annan doesn't throw it. Annan's got the disc just a few yards outside the end zone.
Here we see observer Mitch Dangler issuing the blue card. Looks like there were a couple words after that botched upline and foul call.
Annan, back to Bob Liu. Around to Annan. Good switch between Taylor and Conger. Bob Liu finds Slover, who manages to sneak up line. And Machine sneaks it in. Greg Slover finds Andrew Nelson. And despite a chance to break for Chain Lightning, Machine's offensive line is going to hold. And that's a 10-6 lead for Chicago Machine. As you saw Hannah doing everything he could to try and get a hand on that disc. Nelson able to help him up after that point. Those two involved in a number of changes of possession. Hannah with the deep D. Nelson pressuring the throw to Hannah that was turned over.
Hannah's not ready to give up on this final yet. Some great layout attempts at that point. Playing hard D as well as Godot.
So Williams will pull for Chicago Machine. They have a 10-6 lead here in the men's final of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. This is our 7th game of the weekend. Don't forget that we have one more exciting matchup, the Women's Championship between Boston's Brute Squad and Washington, D.C.'s Scandal. Brute Squad coming off a trip to the finals of the U.S. Open last weekend. Washington Scandal had a subpar performance in Minneapolis, but they were missing a number of star contributors as Vandervoort is actually the one to pull this disc for Machine. Conger centers to Inselman. Inselman will break the mark to Spiva. Believe there was a pick called. Spiva will keep the disc. He'll have a nice look. Wide open downfield. Frank Wooten is the deepest man, but Christian Olsen could streak deep from that far side. Spiva to Conger. Conger to Inselman. Conger. Around to Spiva. Chain losing yardage on these swings, and that backhand's going to go into the ground. Machine's going to have the disc right near the Chain goal line.
This is a Chain's really not using their offense to its fullest potential here, having to use a lot of swings.
Williams to Sheehan, to Walden Nelson. Back to Sheehan. Sheehan to Williams. Sheehan and Williams doing a great job using those around behind dumps where they seal off the mark and ensure that that disc goes right in their hands.
Looks like there may have been a foul call off the disc.
Sheehan to Walden Nelson. Back to Sheehan. Back to Nelson. These Chicago handlers doing a great job cycling and attacking as quickly as they can. And after Sheehan, Williams, and Nelson ran the show, Stefan Mance got involved and was able to hit Walden Nelson up line before Chain could recover and switch. And Chain is frustrated at this point. They're down 11-6 as we get another look at Stefan Mance hitting Walden Nelson up line. Some great handler movement. Chain was doing a great job initially switching to contain the break looks and the upline cuts, but Walden Nelson just too much to handle on that last cut.
Chain in deep conversations now, kind of wondering where that point went wrong. Be interesting to see if there was something that Machine did on that point. Maybe force the cutters a certain way. Atlanta had a heck of a time trying to get an undercut. And with that slight upwind scenario being so far down the field, the deep shots are just not as viable as they'd like them to be.
So Chicago Machine with a commanding 11-6 lead on Atlanta's Chain Lightning here in the finals of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. Machine on the doorstep of avenging a pool play loss and emerging as the top finishing pro flight team at this tournament. Dave Wiseman sends the pull down the field. Hollingworth will field and center. He'll hang on to the disc. Finds Jay Clark underneath, totally unguarded. Up the line to Russell Snow. Snow looking for a reset. With an interesting hammer to Clark, who tries to continue to Joel Wooten. But Vaughn Alanguilin with the incredible layout block that stops the score. Great block there by Vaughn. Exton Titcomb to pick up on his own cone. Wiseman with the first under. Have to respect his deep cutting threat with his size and power. Wiseman looking for a reset. A little discussion there with Joel Wooten. Not sure if he called a fast counter contact.
Wooten will state his case to the observer, as will Wiseman.
Wiseman's going to bring the disc back in. Can't tell if it's in on 1 or 2. And Wiseman shoots deep. He's got Hubbard. And Taylor elevates early and comes up with the block for Chain. Good switching from the Machine defense to prevent the most critical deep threat, and Spears gonna unleash a backhand. He'll find Asa Wilson, who's all alone. Dumps to Jay Clark. Clark looking for options. Asa Wilson comes back to the fourth side cone. He maintains possession. And that's an exciting hold for the Chain offense. Great job by Austin Taylor to get that disc back after the Machine deep shot.
Quite a frantic, exciting point. Of course, Taylor coming out of nowhere, gets up high for that grab. An excellent D for his team that pays dividends. Chain finds their way to the other end zone.
Michael Spear, as he's done all weekend, uncorks a deep throw. He's been quick to pull the trigger for the D-line and frequently successful. And Asa Wilson beats his man to the cone. And speaking of great individual performances, we're going to take a look now at the Patagonia play of the game, which happened earlier in the first half. There was a deep shot. Jay Clark with a great hesitation cut in the lane. Extends back over his shoulder to snag that disc past Kevin Kelly, who's otherwise had a tremendous defensive game with 3 blocks. Great individual performance there from Clark. Great grab for Chain's offense. That's our Patagonia play of the game.
Jay Clark now a 2-time Patagonia play of the game athlete. Has that playing style that really lends itself to the highlight reel.
Nicky Spiva will pull for the Chain defense. Machine leads 11-7 in this championship game, which goes to 13. Annan to Lou. Another zony look from Chain. We'll see how Bob Lou handles this one. He broke it with a big hammer earlier in the first half. And a nice backhand through the middle from Tom Annan. Helton, Nelson, Annan, Kramer. Lou all alone.
Lou preferring his space to work in the zone. Some players prefer to crash up through the cup, try to break through. Lou would rather sit back in the driver's chair, survey the field, and uncork giant hammer throws like that. Can't argue with what he does. It works. Machine is now up a convincing 12-7.
Great pressure there by Chris Hanna. He just couldn't recover quickly enough. As Lou receives the reset, sizes up the defense, and finds Kramer in the front corner of the end zone. Lou's been accurate all game long.
Hanna's so close on that D. Those hammers are very hard to read when you're far away. If you're not right underneath it, it's going to be a hard play to make, and Hanna comes so close. But unfortunately, not close enough, as Machine is right on the doorstep of clinching this championship game.
Bob Lou came to Machine from the Bay Area, played with the Polar Bears mixed team. They won a national championship a few years back, and that team will be headed to the World Ultimate Club Championships in Italy in a few weeks. Get a look at Chris Vandervoort getting set to pull for Machine. He's been a good deep defender, and threw the deep huck that converted Machine's first break of the game. So Machine will see if they can break again here on game point with a 12-7 advantage.
It's an excellent upwind pull. Chain will have to field it in their own end zone. They'll let it drop to the ground as Machine sets up a tough man defense. Late pick call. Disc may find itself going back to Hollingworth.
Russell Snow not too happy to give that one back. Williams insistent that he got picked. Vandervoort will tap the disc back in. Hollingworth in his own end zone. Snow, great explosiveness, gets an up line. Snow finds Joel Wooten. Wooten surveying his options. Asa Wilson there at a high situation, and here's a outside in backhand. It was intended for Austin Taylor, but Andrew Sheehan out of Notre Dame, one of Machine's better defenders, had 2 blocks in the semis against Pony.
Just really clean work there from Sheehan.
Able to take that disc away from Chain. And a deep shot to Kevin Kelly. Goes off his fingertips. Pressure from 2 Chain defenders made him attack it at a slightly awkward angle. The throw was also blading away from him.
An awkward throw for sure. You have to wonder if he heard footsteps, though. 2 defenders bearing down on him with the sidelines, giving them encouragement.
So Tyler Conger will bring the disc in. Conger with a crossfield hammer to Michael Spear. He's shot deep a number of times this weekend. Austin Taylor. Russell Snow. Wooten. This is Joel Wooten. With a blade past the defender to the back corner of the end zone. He finds Michael Spear. Michael Spear's usually been the one throwing the assists here for Chain this weekend. But a nice little checkmark cut to the back cone. Andrew Sheehan doing a good job taking away the force side near option.
That's a throw that doesn't often go up, that touch throw to the back cone. So maybe Sheehan wasn't expecting him to actually throw it. Spear finds his way back there. Quite a bit of space.
So we look at Ron Kublanza giving the Machine offense instruction. He's done a great job finding the combinations that work throughout the weekend, adjusting to some injuries and some earlier losses. Machine will have its second chance on game point. They lead Chain 12-8 here in the championship. A reminder that the games here are played to 13. Goose Helton. He's had a respectable game for Machine. A nice deep shot to Andrew Nelson earlier in the first half. Jay Clark will pull for Chain Lightning. And I believe we had offsides called on Chain. Mitch Stengler clarifying that the first offsides call of the game was on Machine. So that's Chain's warning.
Chain gets another chance here, giving each other encouragement on the line. This is really do or go home for them right now. Absolutely no breathing room in the scoring category. That soft cap has gone off, so we are in the waning minutes of this round. Jay Clark puts a strong pull into the end zone to be fielded by Lou.
Here's Goose Helton. A nice no pivot back end to Nelson. He holsters the deep shot, looking for a reset. Tom Annan comes off the front of the stack. Around to Helton. And that one hit him in the chest. Not much more you can do there as a thrower.
Unfortunate mistake for Helton and Machine. Thankfully for them, they have a little breathing room. Chain will always take this gift this close to the end zone.
Inselman is going to call a timeout. Chain trails 12-8. They have a chance to break here and close the gap to 12-9. We saw Jared Unselman looking at Nicky Spiva as a dump option there. He had a window earlier in the count, didn't pull the trigger, and you could hear him afterwards after he called the timeout apologizing to Spiva, saying that he should have hit him earlier before the dump defender locked in.
Now still theoretically time for Chain to come back, but they're gonna have to put this in pretty quickly. If they wait too long, they'll simply run out of time, and if Machine doesn't put it in on their own, they'll win by default. Just breaking out of the timeouts here. Last few words of encouragement from teammates. You'll see them set up in that very familiar end zone offense. Most teams do like to run a vertical stack. Looks like we're seeing Olsen set apart in the front here. Possibly an isolation play. Let's see if he can work with Spiva and Inselman.
Inselman resets to Spiva. There was a stall called. It looks like Inselman is not going to contest. Great pressure from Machine.
No contest from Inselman, perhaps forgetting that disc was coming in on 7 or 8 off the timeout.
Bob Liu will pick up the disc. Marked by Elliot Erickson. Liu. Wiseman. Wiseman shoots deep. Chance to steal the game. Andrew Nelson's there. And he goes top shelf where Mama hides the cookies to bring that one down. And Machine, after losing to Chain 13-7 in pool play, caps off an impressive 13-8 finals victory to emerge as the champion of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge.
Excellent play. Hats go off to both of these teams. Machine's certainly excited. Chain played a great game, though. So tough to beat a team twice in the same weekend.
So that's it for the men's division this weekend. Machine, your Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge champions, 13-8 over Chain Lightning in the final. Stay tuned on Next Gen. At 2:15, we will have coverage of the women's final between Brute Squad and Scandal. For Brian Kiernan, I'm Ian Toner. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you at the women's final.